Good morning. Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. On the Pacific coast of California, 10,000 kilometers from here, 10 days ago, another 1,000 people were gathered together to work against the death penalty. 1,000 American lawyers, all representing people, more thousands of people, facing death at the hands of the government. 100 miles from that conference room, up the spectacular California coast, with cliffs on one side and the wild sea on the other, on that same day, the most dangerous ocean waves on the planet reached their peak. 50-foot-tall waves of salt water crashing into treacherous rocks and reefs. And the call went out, as it does once a year, only once a year, to the best surfers in the world to travel with 24 hours notice to test their talents in what are called death-defying acts. These athletes were skillful. They were beautiful. They were courageous. But sitting in that conference room, I knew that the real death-defying acts were in that room, in the skills and the strategy and the techniques and the tactics. The death-defying acts are in the courtroom, as lawyers in every retentionist country fight to end the death penalty one precious life at a time. Acting to defy death, to deny death. Defense lawyers stand individually, one at a time, between their clients and the executioner. But one at a time is not enough. It's too slow. And too often, we don't win. Abolitionist activists, the World Coalition Against the Death Penalty, all of you here today, defy death and save lives, not just one person at a time, but one prison at a time, one state at a time, one nation, 10 nations, and we will keep on working, defying death, until we have all followed our heroes, and we are one world without state torture and execution. I represent my organization, Death Penalty Focus, on the steering committee of the World Coalition Against the Death Penalty. The coalition is a whole that is much greater than the sum of its parts. It's a powerful magnifier. With over 100 members, it takes the power of one and multiplies it 100 times. Each voice is 100 times louder. Each one of us has the strength to carry 100 times the weight. 100 shining a light on every injustice. Last June in Sacramento, the capital city of California, there was a public hearing about a new proposed lethal injection execution protocol. Over 100 people testified. Thousands wrote letters. I asked my World Coalition colleagues for support, and letters came from every part of the world, and they were read aloud in the public hearing. And as each one was read, as the letter from our member in Togo, which had abolished the death penalty just a few days before, was read in French in the capital of California, I cried. And I knew that our friends were with us, and I knew that the world was watching. The World Coalition was born out of the First World Congress Against the Death Penalty. ECPM lit the fire of both the Congress and the Coalition, and that flame has been tended by many. From the beginning, we have learned from each other to work together across boundaries as Amnesty and PRI and FIDH and ACAT do, to develop from a commitment to the poor a campaign that collected 5 million signatures against the death penalty presented to the Secretary General of the United Nations, as the community of Sant'Egidio has done, to support the families, as MVFHR does every day. Still, As smart and as skilled and as determined as we are, we lawyers and activists, our advocacy is directed to the public and to decision makers, our partners in government, who have the responsibility of making laws and enforcing them. On behalf of the World Coalition, I thank all of the official representatives who join us in Congress this week. We thank you for your courage and for your support. You are the leaders of the community of nations, and as a citizen of a retentionist country, I thank you, our government partners, for showing the way. The coalition has been growing every year in size and capacity and influence. Our most recent report towards a universal moratorium on the use of the death penalty is being published this week and is available to you during this Congress. This year, 2010, we will leave Europe for our annual membership meeting. The General Assembly of the World Coalition will be in a retentionist country for the first time, and it will be the first time an international death penalty abolition organization will meet on US soil. This year, when our World Day focus is on the United States, the World Coalition will meet at the home of death penalty focus in San Francisco in June, and I'll be looking for you all there. But for this week, the World Coalition joins ECPM and our Congress partners in welcoming you to Geneva to defy death, to defeat death, for this 4th World Congress against the death penalty. Thank you very much.